Hey everybody, Sports Counterpoints podcast. We're back. I'm GB. That's Brian. That's Coop. It's May 2023. What's up, guys?
Going on?
Man, we
Here's May 2nd. Hey, what's up? Hey, we back.
yeah,
We
yeah,
back.
yeah. That rent was due again. But yeah, so we over here we're talking the NBA playoffs. The MVP has been selected for the NBA and we'll get some draft thoughts and get up out of here. Brian on location from Baltimore. So let's get it going
Mm-hmm.
and let this guy get some rest as it's late on that side. So the playoffs, man, we're at the semis now. The fields are all set. Just any quick thoughts on the ending of the first round.
Shit. Which I guess we'll start with the one we probably have a lot of interest in, Sacramento and LA. Actually, no, you said ending. Let me say
Yeah,
Sacramento and Golden State. I'm sorry.
yeah.
So I did pick the Warriors, but I was a little shaky after the first couple of games. But I had to remember that the series doesn't start until the road team wins, and that road team
Yep.
was the Golden State Warriors. They won Game Five. I don't know how they lost Game Six, but they did. But they ended up winning Game Seven in Sacramento. Basically, just veterans just played better. I didn't like the way that
Yep.
Sacramento played starting from the first quarter, jacking up a lot of threes, not really running any offense. And you see the Warriors, they just slowed it down, played their half court offense, and just got points out of that. They really didn't run too much. And Curry had a great game, put up 50 against Sacramento.
Crazy.
But I look at it a different way. I look at it as, and we'll talk about the Lakers Golden State series a little later, but I look at it like this. De'Aaron Fox hurt his hand, couldn't dribble that well. Mitchell didn't have a good game. Herter didn't have a good game, and Harrison Barnes didn't have a good game, which is familiar with Warrior fans. So, and it still took a 50-point effort by Steph Curry for them to put away Sacramento. So that's how I'm looking at it, and I think that's probably an advantage for the Lakers. We'll get into that later. But congratulations to Golden State for winning. But I don't think that team win was as impressive against a terrible defensive team, like people try to make it out to be. But what do you think, Brian?
I mean, look, I, the better team I thought won, and I think the team that had the more veteran experience with the most good players, and that's what we said it was going to be at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of it. The fact that it shook out that way, is exactly how it works, right? I mean, when you have multiple good players, where when their version of DeAndre Fox gets hurt and someone else can
De'Aaron.
take it from there, right? That's how you win a series. So DeAndre Fox got banged up. I
De'Aaron.
wouldn't even say hurt.
De'Aaron
De'Aaron,
Sorry,
Fox.
De'Aaron,
De'Aaron.
yeah,
De'Aaron, yeah.
Yeah.
should have been
De'Aaron
named
Fox
DeAndre.
got
Long day.
yeah, exactly. Apparently, let's go back and change that. But when De'Aaron got banged up, I won't say he got injured. You know, that's when you start figuring out if a team is a team, a good team.
Yeah.
And because De'Aaron was playing so well that whole
Yeah.
series, he was showing everybody exactly why that man was Mr. Clutch, and why he deserved that award. But when you have a team that can suffer through a bad game by Klay Thompson, a non-factor offensively, from some of the other players on the team, and you still have one player that can keep you going, which a 50-point game from Steph Curry. That's how you win these games,
Yeah.
and that was the difference. That was the reason why I chose him. At least I think it was the same reason you chose him early on. Is that
Yep.
it's not about one player when you get into the playoffs. It's about, can you sustain it? Who can get healthy? And we're going to talk about the flip side of that when we talk about what's going on with the Suns, whom we both picked and are now, I bet, have both decided would not win that series. Actually, I
Oh
picked,
no, I picked
yeah,
Denver. Yeah.
yeah. I'm way off that bus, and that's because of the same thing. They don't have the depth, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it was a fun series to watch, though. It was definitely the best
Yeah,
series
it
of the
was great.
first
Yeah, it was.
of the first round. It was exciting. You each night you knew you were going to get someone doing something outstanding, and that's why you watch the playoffs.
Yeah. I said during text chat, everybody's talking about the 50-point game against the Kings, and that's cool. And it was a great game by Steph. But to me, Steph's most impressive playoff moment ever was last year against Boston in the finals. Because not only was it Durant wasn't on the team, But the so-called defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, was on the Celtics, and he torched them for 34 a game. And it wasn't just one game he did it or 2 games. He torched them the entire series. That was the most impressive run in the playoff series I've ever seen Steph do. So this 50-point game against Sac is cool, but doing it against the finals last year against the Celtics is the most impressive to me. But yeah, had to throw that in.
But he's
Yeah.
great. I mean, that's why
Oh
he's
yeah,
great.
yeah, definitely. GB, any thoughts? I
Man,
know you
just,
picked Sac. They fought.
they fought. They had a great season for the Kings. Like you can't be mad at that. I mean, they deserve to be that 3 seed. They showed why they were who they were. I think they came up against, to come up against a defending champ in the 7th seed is tough. I don't think that happens too often where you're facing a team that's fresh off a championship and you're the higher seed. But they fought they fought very well. They played 7 games. They played them hard, like it was anybody's series up until the end and that's when champions kind of rise. So I think the
So,
Warriors, props for that.
quick question for you both: is Sabonis good enough to be Robin to Fox's Batman?
Not to me. He's never been to me, but that's just my personal opinion. He's a
I
good
mean,
maybe third option. What do you think, Glenn?
I think we saw it can win you games and it can get you into the playoffs. Now, if I think they're going to need one more player a piece probably to do it, but I think they're a nice little one too, for sure. I don't know
So
that
you think
anybody's
that they
So you
fearing
think
them.
he
you
is a
think they need
Robin?
a third? They could use a third.
They're
Jason,
going to
you
need
think
another
they need a
scoring option.
second?
Yeah.
But you say third. I think they need another two. I think Sabonis will be a three, a good three, high level
Got it.
three. I'm thinking they need another guy to be a two,
I
but
mean,
and it'll be hard. What do you
they
think, Brian? Oh,
they
I'm
ran
sorry,
it.
Yeah,
GB.
I was just
I
saying they
think they
ran
need
through
a
the league. So
Yeah,
yeah. I think they need to find the guy who's going to be number two. Now that's not
yeah,
because. And that number two doesn't need to necessarily score as much as Sabonis or be as good a defensive player or any one particular thing. But Sabonis is not an emotional leader. Fox
oh,
is
got
has
it.
got
Yeah, I see what
that.
you're saying.
And they just need somebody who can be great in a moment.
yeah,
And I think Sabonis is very even. I think he's
Okay.
a very good player.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I think that the number two guy needs to be, you know, we all know who it is when you look at the Golden State Warriors, it's Clay.
yeah, yeah,
And it's because he's not great any particular night. But when he does go and get hot, he's unstoppable.
yeah,
They just don't have that guy
yeah.
on
Yeah.
Sacramento. They need Fox to be great every single night.
Yeah, and
Um,
and like you said, being a number two doesn't mean you always got to score a bunch of points. You could be like Scottie Pippen, get that key block, that key steal, that key defensive stop,
yeah,
that key
you just got to
outlet
be able to
pass.
do
You know what I'm
something
saying?
that's
Yeah,
that's
that's
you know
good at a
that
moment in a particular moment. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Yep.
Okay, I can see that.
And they'll
Situational
figure it
basketball.
out.
Yeah.
I've gone from I've always been a little bit warmer on Sacramento Kings, and I thought they were going to be pretty good this year. I didn't think they were going to be this good,
Right.
and get such a great seed. So I, I think they've got a good future, and that's great. I think
Yeah.
they're building the right way.
Yeah. You're gonna have to draft well because it's hard to get players to sack. But also when you see a young team that's winning and you might
You,
be able to get
you,
a little
you got
something.
your yeah. You always got to watch out for that because we've seen young teams have a good season or a decent playoff run, and you check on them 2 years later, it ain't that same team. It's
Well,
like guys have gone and
Yeah.
they didn't meet expectations and stuff like that. So you always got to watch it. But it
Yeah.
seems like Sac has a good
the
future. I
trap
believe both of you guys though.
Yeah, the trap is for teams like this and Sacramento being in a place like Sacramento is overpaying for the wrong guy.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
somebody who has had a great season and they decide that he's going to be their number two and
yeah,
they overextend for them. Some people are just not meant to be that.
yeah,
And figuring that out for themselves and finding the right guy to bring there instead of just the guy who's available or that they can trade for or that they can spend too much money on to get him to come to a place that's not considered a free agent
Yeah.
target.
yeah,
That's the trap, right? You
yeah.
got to avoid that.
Crazy part was they had the 3 or the 2 on the teams. They had Halliburton and Buddy Hield. One of them dudes in this series would have been huge.
Yeah. Probably,
But
probably.
up
But
up
yeah,
next, I don't think.
Phoenix and Denver.
Yeah.
I
Let's
called a Chris Paul injury coming
Yeah.
up, and it came. A Chris Paul injury every year in the playoffs, man. He's the Jimmy Garoppolo of basketball, man. He's gonna get hurt, just a matter of when. And it's sad because I
Look
like
at
Chris
that,
Paul as a
Jimmy
player.
Garoppolo of
That ain't even
Uh,
fair
uh,
because
well, you know what?
Jimmy
Actually, Chris
relies on the
Paul.
offensive line.
Yeah,
And
actually, Chris Paul is actually a better player in basketball than Jimmy is a football player. But be that as it may, I like Chris
It's
Paul.
amazing how fast he got off that bandwagon, huh?
I don't.
Like
I like.
Oh my
he's
God.
like, ding,
He's
Well,
got a,
I'm on the
hey,
next the
I'm
next
so,
stop, please.
hey, if a
he got
stock
off.
goes,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm saying if a stock goes down $20, ain't no need to me for me keeping it. I need to go ahead and just get off that train before it go down $20
Right.
more dollars. I
Yeah,
get it.
you got off the truck real quickly. But
I got
Oh
off real
my
quick.
goodness.
But yeah, man. I like watching Chris Paul play basketball. So as a fan, it's like I
yeah,
don't care about either one of these teams. It's kind of sad to see this happen every single year. But at the same time, I did pick Denver not because I thought a Chris Paul injury was going to come, but because I just thought they were a deeper team, and I don't think Phoenix can get past this series without a bench, which they don't have. I mean, they got two really good players, one great player in Durant and a good player in Devin Booker, but I'm not sure that's enough to get past Denver. And Jamal Murray had a bad game yesterday, and they
yeah, he
still
was
end up
non-existent.
pulling out a victory. And Phoenix only scored about 87 points, which isn't good. Now I do expect them to win at least one home game and take it back to Denver, but at 2-0, it's going to be hard to win 4 out of 6 against Denver. Well, what you think, Brian?
I mean, yeah, like the minute you lose Chris Paul and you're already down 0-2, Kevin Durant's not that good. He's very, very damn good,
Mm.
but he's not that good. And again, we talked about you always have to have that second guy. And so it's unfortunate that that's the way it's gone, but I just don't think that there's a chance that they're going to be able to figure it out. And in fairness to the Nuggets, Chris Paul still played 25 minutes in that game. So it's not like they they took advantage of, and Chris Paul going out was the difference. They won by 10 with Chris Paul playing 5 minutes less than he probably normally would. He's only a 30-minute player. So obviously it's a factor, but the Nuggets have also played some really good basketball and showed up and kind of done their thing.
I gotta also say, man, I'm always clowning like Jokic. Bruh can hoop though.
Oh,
Bruh puts up
he
numbers
can.
every
He's good
like.
for this era. He's a very good ball
I
player
mean,
in this
man,
era.
well, this only era we watching right now. So,
Right.
bruh, I look up, he got 39 and 14.
GB,
If I'm like, dang,
GB, he grabbed offensive rebounds without jumping. Okay, yesterday. I mean, I'm just
hey,
saying.
well,
I'm just
hey,
saying.
that's
I'm
that's
not
on
saying he's a
the
bad player, but I'm just, I'm definitely
that's
not
on the
saying
other
that.
team because he had
Someone got to
14 of
do
them.
it.
Yeah, he had
Yeah,
14 of them. So like,
like
bro
man.
was playing. I got to give him that. But yeah, I think that team. It's funny because I was like, it's such a boring series because of how Denver plays. But actually, that game yesterday was pretty good. So
Yeah.
I watched them all. So who you guys got winning that series?
Oh, we
You
already
said
said last week.
okay.
Yeah, we
Brian
already
had
said
Phoenix
last
and
week.
I had
I
Denver.
said this. I said the Suns. Actually, I thought that they were the better and more talented
Got it.
team
Because yeah, that series
with
was done.
KD. But
That's
yeah,
right.
I'm off that bandwagon. I'll call it now. I took an L on that one because they absolutely need both of those players to play, and I thought because they were able to kind of measure Chris Paul's minutes, they were going to be able to keep him healthy. Whoops.
Yeah, that's tough, man. What
Yeah, so
about
yeah, well, it's almost like Kawhi. Stay out and still get hurt. But yeah.
yeah,
So what do you think,
looking
Brian,
good.
about the Warriors? The game going on right now is
Yeah.
63-63. Lakers at the Warriors, 11 seconds left in the second quarter. Tie game, 63-63. What you think?
Yeah, I mean, I already put this out there. I think the Lakers are going to win in 6.
Mhm.
I think that, quite honestly, this game that we're watching right now, that's going on right now as we're doing this, is super important for the Lakers.
Mhm.
It's just a game for the Warriors, but if the Lakers can find a way to take the emotional charge that's going to happen on a home court for a defending champion that it had just came off of a great series, if they can take advantage of the fact that had to do a 7-game series and we only play a 6-game series and win this, it sets the tone. It really does set the tone. Now the Lakers are amazing at being able to come out and shit the bed the next game. So it'll be, hopefully they'll come out and be competitive and strong all the way through. But I just think the Lakers, when they play like can play against that game against Memphis, they're really good. And
Yeah.
and of course, the first thing I'm going to remind everybody of, they had the best record in the NBA since the trade deadline.
Well, post All-Star break too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And so, this is a talented team that obviously had to fight back to just even get in the playoffs, but they can play good basketball. The problem that they've always had is, can they sustain good basketball?
Right.
And when they put together a 4-quarter game or really 3 because they didn't have to play much in the fourth, like they did against Memphis in that sixth game. They are really, really tough to beat. My biggest concern about this series is whether or not the Lakers can go and play their game and not get caught up in playing the Golden
Yes.
State Warriors game, because the Lakers cannot shoot. They are
Mm.
not a
Yeah.
3-point shooting team.
Yep.
And it is so hard. And you watch teams do it all the time where they
Yep.
watch Steph start chucking and he's making shots. And a guy like LeBron sees the emotional charge at hitting something from half court damn near does. And then he tries to do it. Well, you not Steph. These
Mm.
guys are
Yeah.
not Steph. When they run the staggered screen or the high pick and roll, and then get out and play great defense, they are very, very good. Not unbeatable, but very, very good.
Yep.
But the trap is that the Lakers love to shoot threes, and we've seen it all season long, even when Russ was there and other players were there, where they get into these moments where, after running 10 straight points on the staggered screen, they'll go over and freeze the ball and start passing around the outside, and Vanderbilt or LeBron or somebody who chucks up a three, or AD's at the top of the key chucking up threes, and they give up another run for the other team, 4 straight baskets the other way as a result. So if they can play their game,
Yep.
and if Darvin Ham can keep them focused, um, there's only upside. But yeah, Lakers in 6.
Mm.
Yeah. I just can't help but think last time Steph and LeBron played, Steph had Durant, and J.R. Smith forgot it was a tie game. But this series, I'm with you, Brian. I got Lakers in 6, and here's why.
Man.
The Warriors have a lot of one-way players, and what I mean by that is they do pretty much one thing well. Jordan Poole's pretty much all offense. Gary Payton seconds all defense. Curry's offense. Clay's offense. So they have a lot of one-way players, whereas the Lakers, they have two-way players. But also, people don't know this, but the Warriors are very bad offensively when like one of the worst teams in the league when Steph is off the court. I don't think they have a bench. They try to pump up Kaminga and all these other guys. I don't think those guys are that good, and the statistics show it this season when Steph is off the court. They're just not very good. But also, the Warriors just went from playing one of actually the worst defensive team, not only in the playoffs, to now playing the best defensive team in the playoffs. And the Lakers are going from playing the worst shooting team in the playoffs to playing the best shooting team in the playoffs. But where the Lakers can exploit the Warriors is they have size.
Yeah.
And like I said, it took a otherworldly effort by Curry in Game 7 just to dispatch the Kings. And I think
They
the
did
Lakers
win
are
by
just
20, didn't they?
who.
The Warriors.
Yeah, but he was the only one going offensively on that
Yeah.
team, and he had it going. I mean, don't
Still
get me
a big
wrong. It was
win.
a close game, and they kind of blew it up at the end, but it was very
Yeah.
close throughout. But I think the Lakers' size will be the difference in this series, and the fact that they just have two-way players, and I think they'll have just enough to get it done. Now, both of these teams are played inconsistent all season, and like Brian said, the Lakers shooting is very inconsistent, so it can vary game in and game out. But I'm still gonna go roll with the Lakers on this one in 6 games.
Man, I had damn. All my bets are on the Lakers. Y'all saw it in the group chat, so I got bets on the Lakers. I um I just have seen too much inconsistent basketball, so I was concerned that they could actually win the series and sustain it. But based off what y'all said, I mean, man, I can't bet against my team. So Lakers to win it, man. So let's see what happens.
We'll see. We'll see. The
Yeah.
Warriors have had. I mean, both are inconsistent, but the Warriors have been more consistent than the Lakers, and they're the best 3-point shooting team in the playoffs. So that's an
Yeah.
advantage they
I
have.
just want
But
to be clear.
Definitely.
I am not knocking the Warriors. I
Yeah.
no,
think
No.
that
No.
that
No.
is a
not at
very
all.
good championship caliber team when they play well. And they have the biggest X factor in basketball, which is Steph Curry,
Mm,
because that dude decides that he's going to do something, or he puts his mind to it, and it's pretty darn hard to
Yeah.
keep up. When he's
yeah,
when you got to guard him from half court in, that's a tough defensive challenge
yeah, yeah.
for a
I think
team.
you
Just
said it though.
To be
gotta
Go
hope
ahead.
a couple games he's off. Just
Yeah.
gotta hope.
Well,
If
even if
you
he's
know,
not, I think the key is like, if he's scoring, like the key is you gotta, in any game, you come back and score. Don't come back and shoot the three because he shot one. Go down low, score two. Score two. You'll always be right there. When you start shooting threes and missing them and then they hit a couple is when those leads stretch.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean it's happening right now. Steph is having an off night. He's 2 for 7 and 4 for 11, 4 for 11 from the field. But the problem is his history does not dictate his future.
Yeah.
Whereas some
Yeah.
people have cold games, he might have a cold quarter and then
Right.
still finish with 40.
Yeah.
And you have to always remember that about him. That you go into the locker room, you can't be like, all right, so Steph's having a bad game, so we're going to shift it over to
Right.
try
Right.
and slow down
Right.
Clay. Like, nope. You need to
Yes.
do exactly what you're
Stay right
doing.
where
You
you
need
at.
to make sure that he gets no space, because the minute that guy sees a shot go in, that he starts to feel it, it is a
Yeah.
different game.
He's the opposite of Russell Westbrook. Yeah.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
hope no
You know
one
what I'm saying?
at home ever makes a drinking game out of that, because they will not make it through a show
Oh
without
man.
being faded. How many times they're gonna clown Russell Westbrook?
Oh, look, nobody wanted that trade more than Jason, because he said he wasn't going to talk about Russell Westbrook. I
Oh
never
yeah.
said that.
No,
You
I
sure did.
said as long as he's a Laker, I wasn't going to, and I
Right,
didn't.
I know that's
And I
exactly
didn't.
right.
Yeah.
And so I
Yep.
said nobody wanted that trade more than Jason, because he said he wasn't going to talk about him. Minute
Nope.
that trade happened, it was like floodgates.
It was open season. Right.
I I'm hoping, man, if we play consistent, we could definitely win. I mean, if we play consistent, we could win the championship. But can they play consistent for the rest of the time?
Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
and consistent, but motivated to play the right way. They have a style of basketball, and if they play their style of basketball, Memphis
Yeah.
found out, which Memphis was a very good team all season long. And
Yeah.
Mr. John Morant went over there like, I'm
Yeah.
not worried about the West. Well, you
Mm.
went out in the first round,
Right.
so
Yeah.
As
I'm
number
sure
2 seed.
we'll talk a little bit more about Mr. Morant after the season and why, Jaren Jackson's already looking for the door and everything else. We'll do
Brooks
that
is gone too,
Brooks
later
man.
can't
on.
come back. Real
Brooks
quick,
ain't coming back, but that's not a big deal.
I got
They
to
said,
put it
yeah.
out there. He had 50 in game. Curry had 50 in game 7. He the best point guard ever, because now people are putting him number 1. I'm just
You
saying. I'm
wanted
just
to.
asking.
We've
Just
had
asking.
this conversation
I
many
think-
times.
I'm
I
just.
think, Jason, in your response in the group chat was actually kind of perfect, and I hate giving you this kind of credit, but you said he can be part of the conversation, but when the conversation's over, he ain't number 1.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, all I gotta say is Curry has 4 first-team All NBAs. Magic has 9. I mean, I'm saying.
There's
4
an
to 9.
infinite number of reasons why
Yeah,
Magic
I mean,
Johnson is still the best point guard
yeah.
ever,
Just saying.
like, period.
Right. Okay. All right.
And
I'm just checking in.
If you change the conversation from point guard to guard,
That's
and if you
different.
change the
Yeah.
or
I see.
because you also pointed out that he plays a lot of the two in certain situations. His title is always point guard,
Right.
but when they need to get him hot, they start running the ball through Draymond more. Or
Yeah.
they bring in Gary Payton and he starts facilitating the offense up top, so that Curry can get green light.
Off of 3 screens. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And that's when he does a lot of his damage, is playing in the 2 position. But so anyways, he's titled a
Yeah.
point guard. He's not the best point guard.
He could be
Right.
top 5 point guard and shooting guard, but I don't think he's number 1 in either.
No.
Agreed.
No.
Agreed.
But nice.
But
I
but
watch
he
Curry
is
every day.
absolutely the best shooter
Yeah.
ever.
There's no
Bruh's
question.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There ain't no
Ever.
question. He shoots
You
30
guys are-
footers at a better percentage than some guys shoot 2-point shots. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, you
Yeah.
literally they
No
had those joke videos where you had to start guarding that dude when he got out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, like that. Right.
I
You
mean,
ain't
that's
going off
just-
on me tonight. That's right.
Yeah. Shout out
Yeah.
to Mark Phillips and RDC.
I'm a little bit of a
What's up?
floating head over here on the screen now, because
No,
I'm
you're
wearing a
good.
black shirt and
No, you're good.
I'm
It's you can see
I'm
that.
repping for Jason today.
You
Yeah, you
funny.
can see the
Let's
difference.
if
So,
we
yeah.
can move to the
Knicks.
Eastern Conference.
Yeah, Knicks Miami, man. What y'all got?
Knicks, Miami. Who won tonight? Knicks won today. They won.
Knicks
It's 1-1.
It's 1-1.
Hey, you know what? Miami came off that Milwaukee series highly emotional, ended up winning game 1 in New York. I kind of expected them to lose this game. I expect Miami to win both games in New York, go back 3-1, and then try to close it out. I just think
Okay, so
Miami's a better team, and they got Jimmy Buckets. So Jimmy Buckets goes off in Miami, and the bench plays better as well.
Playoffs, man. That dude, when it comes to the playoffs, man,
Yeah.
it's hard to argue a more clutch player these days when it comes to playoffs.
Now,
Like,
now I'm not gonna lie, Glenn and Brian, I didn't watch a minute of this series, not at all, of Miami and New York, and I'm not
watched-
sure
I watched
if I
one.
am. Okay. Yeah.
Watched
No,
the end of it.
I've been watching as much of the games as I possibly can when I
Okay.
wasn't having to, destroy my entire game room and rebuild walls and fix leaks.
Oh,
It's been a
yikes.
rough week.
Yeah.
But anyways, here's the thing. I don't have. I'm gonna pick the Knicks, and here's the reason why. Jimmy Butler didn't play today, right? And they
Oh,
lost.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And he's hurt. Um,
Okay.
and so I know he's going to come back. He's that guy where he's going to come back and he's going to try and play and he's doing everything he can. But if he can't be him and he can't put that cape on that he puts on in the playoffs, then they can't win. It's not really even. And so because I have some doubt as to whether or not Jimmy Butler will be healthy in this series, even if he plays, whether he'll be healthy, I'll say that's enough to swing it the Knicks way. And we've already seen Julius Randle come back and play, and he played well. So we at least know that his hobbled is good enough for 25 points in a game, whereas we don't know what Jimmy Butler is going to be able to do, and he's got to do so much for that team
Yep.
in order to make that happen. So
Yep. Okay. Solid.
I'll
I'm
take the
gonna go.
Knicks. I'll take them in. I'll take them in 6.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
gonna go with Miami too. I don't know how many. It's 6 or 7, but I got Miami.
I'll still go Miami and well, since you said Butler, I'll go Miami 6. Yeah. All right.
And then on the other side is Philadelphia and Boston, right?
Yeah, always happy to see Boston lose, though I still think they're going to win the series. But Boston, I know a lot of people have Boston as one of the top teams, but there's not one game I've seen Boston play where I'm like, yo, that is a championship team.
That's true.
They didn't play. I mean, losing yesterday against Philadelphia was pretty much inexcusable. Jalen Brown, I don't think the coach they have now is as good as Udoka was last year. I could just tell by the way the team plays. Tatum, everybody wants to make him a superstar, but he's still not that give me the ball, take over the game type of guy. He's just one of the guys, very good player, but not a superstar like people try to crown him. But the key to me this series is Jalen Brown because when he plays well, they usually win. And he said that he hurt his shooting hand, by picking up a broken vase. Not sure why you want to do that. I heard him say in an interview on the Athletic that he said that he's tired of being mentioned in these trade rumors. Every year he's mentioned in trade rumors for the last 3 years for certain players, and it's
Yeah.
pissing him off. Um, Also, he went like I think 6 for 7 in the first quarter, and he finished the game 8 for 10. So he shot 3 more times the rest of the game after he had a really good first quarter, which is kind of I don't understand that.
What kind of
And
weird strategy is that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then he also said in the interview that his teammates that he wanted to run, but his teammates didn't want to, so he had to, guys kind of slow. I don't know, something's really
That ain't
weird.
good.
Yeah, something's really weird with Jalen Brown. And I think probably he's always mentioned being traded all the time. But if Boston doesn't win this series against Philly, which I fully expect them to, but if they don't win, there's some serious questions you got to answer in Boston, and it's probably going to involve moving Jalen Brown and try to bring in somebody else because I don't think they're letting Tatum go. But if you ask me who I think is going to win the series, I still take Boston in 6. I just think they're just better, and I can't trust Doc Rivers, especially if he's up 3-1. I'm really taking Boston if they're up 3-1
Well, I
because
think
you.
I think Glenn loves Doc Rivers, right? That's like
Yeah,
his
I mean,
I
favorite
if
coach.
forgot.
If Philly goes up 3-1, I'm betting the house on Boston, man, because they're gonna come back and win. Doc
I
Rivers
f-
known for giving it up, so
Dang,
yeah,
I forgot Doc was the coach, bro.
yeah.
I don't pay
Hmm.
Uh,
attention to Philly or Boston, so
Hmm.
in any capacity.
Yeah, I'll take the Celtics too. I think that, obviously it was kind of a fluky loss to begin it. I don't trust Harden. I don't trust the 76ers. I know that the 76ers are going to be on an emotional high now, that Ingram got his Ingram. It should have been Ingram, damn it.
Who? Who?
Uh,
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
now that Embiid has gotten the MVP, and that that obviously is going to be something the teams wanted to get for him, and they'll be able to figure out how to use that going forward. I mean, he didn't even
Yeah.
play in that game,
Mhm.
but I do think that Boston's a better team. I agree with you completely. I think the one of the biggest problems with the Celtics have is that they're more talented than they were last year, but so much of that talent is in cantankerous players and Marcus Smart and
Mm,
Jalen Brown.
yeah.
And those guys are just malcontents. They've never liked the idea that it was Tatum's team. They've always kind of felt like they've done enough for it to be part of their team. It's just not. And that's certain realities that certain players have to figure out. Like you can be great and it still not be your team, right? Kobe had to figure that out for a period of time before he
Yeah.
just took that role.
Mhm.
And that dynamic caused all the problems that Shaq and Kobe had. And I'm not saying that anyone on those teams are Shaq or Kobe. I'm just saying that from a dynamic perspective, people need to understand where they stand at a certain point in time. before their move has happened. And Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown are not the guy in Boston. That's Jason Tatum. So they're going to need to figure out what to do about that after the offseason. So I do think that they get through this round. I still think that they may very well be the team that represents the East, because I think they are the best team in the East. But I think they still have, I don't care if they win a championship this year. I still think they have a lot of questions they need to answer this offseason. And what they're going to do with Brown and Smart is definitely one of them.
I'm taking Philly. I don't pick Boston in any circumstance. I'm strictly emotional. I
Wow.
don't want.
Well, that's really tough for you, Glenn. I mean, you're going to take Doc Rivers over
I don't.
Boston because Boston
Yeah,
is Boston.
man.
Allegedly, he's the coach. I'm picking the MVP.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm picking the MVP to win it, man, and get Boston out of here. But Boston will probably win. They got the experience and they got the team to do it. All right, so yeah, this is actually kind of shaping up to be a pretty good playoffs. Like the last half of the season has been pretty
It's been a
good.
lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
after talking as much as I did about the first half, the second half's been really fun.
Yep.
Also, the Lakers somehow made a way in, so it makes basketball a lot
Not
more
only did they
exciting
make
for
their
me.
way in, they're making their way through.
Yeah, when my team's in it and there's a chance, it changes everything. So, word to the Lakers
Yeah,
and my
when you got the
pops.
Lakers and the Knicks in the playoffs, that got to be a good thing for the NBA, because
Yeah,
how often does that happen? So yeah.
thankful to my pops for making me a Laker fan, man. May he rest in peace always. But yeah, so that's where we go out. NBA, we mentioned Embiid win the MVP. Y'all got any problem with that?
I think
No, I
Brian
love it.
picked that. So yeah, go ahead and take the victory lap, Brian.
Yeah, I picked that at the beginning of the season. And, I got more confident when everyone started talking about how Jokic isn't supposed to win it 3 times. And he won it. I mean, and Embiid won it pretty convincingly. I think he had 73 of the first place votes to Embiid's like 15. Um, Look, I think Embiid was probably played an MVP caliber season and was healthy enough of it to win it.
Okay.
And so if there was a season that he was going to get it, this makes sense. I also think that Jokic suffered he's not good enough to win it 3 times when other greats didn't
Yeah.
backlash, and so
Yep.
that almost
Agreed.
eliminated him from the competition before it even started, and he
Yep.
still got second.
So,
And Giannis, what should have been in the conversation and got third. So, anyways, I think this is great. This is awesome. Congratulations to Embiid, and let's see what he does with it.
yeah.
Let's see.
Pass.
Some players get it and then stop. Some players do a Jokic and keep getting better.
Good point.
So we'll see what comes next.
Mhm.
Word. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Tatum only because I thought the league has been trying to prop Tatum up for the last couple of years and make him a superstar. But he's not, but make him a superstar. He's a very talented player though, offensively. I know he won the All-Star game MVP, and I just thought he was going to keep that run going. But I pretty much knew I wasn't going to win this when the talk towards the end of the season was more about Jokic and Embiid. So Embiid got it. I have no problem with it. He had a great season by him. Hopefully he can play some playoff games.
Yeah, he's from Cameroon.
I
So
can't remember if
yeah,
there's ever
realize
been a
that.
time where there's been first, second, and third as centers.
No, I don't think that's ever happened. Usually it's always a guard up there. Always.
Yeah, there's always at
Yeah.
least one guard in the conversation,
Always.
but all
Yep.
3 of them are centers.
Yep. Real talk. Real
Word.
talk.
Okay. NBA. Any last NBA thoughts?
No, we're good. I'm
All
good.
right. So
I
let's
can't
talk.
wait for us to get to the season and start breaking down what some of these teams need to do. That's going to be fun because now you're seeing these teams as they fall out of the playoffs, and
Oh, got it.
there's
Yeah.
lots
Oh,
to
yeah,
be
and what
said
they
about
need.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Thank you. No
Yep.
more threes, guys. We're shooting threes again. Word. So that's NBA. So now back to the NFL, man. NFL draft has happened. Was cool to see people's lives change. It's cool to see all the families dressed up, excited about all their young men getting drafted into their different NFL teams. Give me your thoughts. How stuff kind of shook out, and then we'll talk about what we think our teams did.
I mean, I'll just start with a couple. I saw the Houston. Okay, first of all, like I told you guys, I wasn't watching a minute of this draft. It
I ended up
just
watching
wasn't
every minute too after seeing
I
all
was gonna
really.
that.
say I watched most
Yeah,
of the first 2 days.
No,
they had it on
I,
at the
I,
house, and I was on it. So yeah.
I couldn't. Next year's draft, I will. This one, I just couldn't. But what I did notice is just looking at the results on my phone, how Houston, a team with many needs on that team, they have many needs. I mean, from every position on the damn field, they traded away picks to go up and get Will Anderson, which I understand he went to Alabama and all. Everybody's in love with Alabama players, yet they don't never look at their pro success. But I'm like, for a team that has a lot of needs, I would think you would need to have as many picks or want to have as many picks as you can get. And yet the trade away picks to get Will Anderson, who actually got worked playing against Chicago's first round pick. I forgot the guy. He's the Chicago drafted Darnell Wright. That's his name. I mean, he got worked by that guy, and they still drafted him number 3 overall. So that to me was a little bit suspect. I thought they probably reached a little bit on CJ Stroud. I didn't think Houston actually needed a quarterback that bad this year. They could have waited. But I hope D'Amico Ryans is successful. I really liked him when he was with the 49ers, but I'm not sure how this draft is going to shake out for him. So that was my first takeaway. And then the second point I'll talk about before I hand it off to Brian is how the Falcons had the 5th best rushing offense last year, and yet they drafted a running back, which really wasn't a position of need. I understand that Bijan Robinson is talented, but I don't think that actually makes the Falcons that much of a better team. Maybe one win, maybe, but I don't know.
Their whole offense is first round picks now.
Yeah, but just look at
5 years.
yeah, just looking at the top 10, those are the two that stuck out to me. Brian, a few things stick out to you.
You picked 2 of them, so I'm gonna talk about them real quickly. One, I actually really love what Houston did.
Me too.
There was a whole bunch of talk about whether or not they needed to go offense or defensive players, and they found a way to give their coach, who's gonna both of what they were talking about. So I'm not in the draft room, and I don't know where they have these guys graded, but they clearly said that this is the quarterback that we want, and this is the defensive player. I'm gonna get both of them for you. There's no excuses from a Demeco perspective. They went and gave him everything he could possibly want in the draft. 2 of the top 5.
That's crazy.
That is incredible. Every single coach who's going into a new situation where they've been losing for a long time hopes to have the support of a team and the willingness to do exactly what happened there. On the other thing is I'm so heated, right? So if you all remember at the beginning of last season when it came to fantasy football, one of the players that I said was a super sleeper and was going to blow it up at the second half of the season was Tyler Algieri. Mm-hmm. And he did exactly that. This is a 1,000-yard rusher. This guy was averaging 4.9 yards per carry. This is a guy that I was targeting in every single fantasy league dynasty league that I could possibly get him in, and had some success in doing that. And sure enough, they go and take Bijan Robinson. Now, is Bijan Robinson a better running back than Tiger? Maybe, but you really don't need to mess when you've got 4.9 yards per carry out of a rookie in a 1,000-yard season when he only played the second half. Yeah. I was so disappointed in that for a whole bunch of reasons, including my fantasy teams. Bijan Robinson is a very good running back, and I'm sure he'll be very solid. And it was interesting to see 2 running backs go so quickly, so soon. And then also, I was, obviously interested in where Zach Charbonnet went, and that was pretty interesting, and thought that could be a really great fit for him. The other thing that I thought was, every year there's some player that this happens to, but in watching, what happened to Will Levis when he fell and just dropped in the draft like that. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch when they invite him to the green room.
Yeah,
I think everybody assumes that they have some inside baseball that he's going to go on the first night. Like, you don't need to invite people who were, and they stopped for a while. They had stopped doing that. The guys who were kind of tweeners, might get drafted in the last 10 picks. They stopped inviting them to the green rooms and all that because they didn't want to have this on TV. And yet they still hit a big miss on that one. Now, he was the first pick of day 2.
Yeah, I love
$24.4 million he lost by not going where he was supposedly projected
where he was slated to go. One thing I will say though is that no deal ends up being better than the top pick of the second round for that second deal, because you get it a year sooner. And with quarterbacks who get massive contracts, it's pretty safe to say that if he gets a second deal, that first year of the second deal will be more than it would be for the top picks in that draft. Yeah. So he's banking on himself. He has to bet on himself.
For the top.
It's just sad to watch these guys. I mean, even when you do have a rotating crop of maybe girlfriends sitting on his lap. I don't know if you guys saw all the memes and stuff about that. But he had a different
bathroom selfies and stuff.
Not sad at all. Not sad at all. It's part of the game.
Yeah, I was actually when I was scrolling my phone, I was looking for Will Levis, and I thought I missed him. So I checked my phone 3 times and saw he didn't get drafted. So of course I had to try to find out why. And from what I read is it was his attitude and like bathroom
He might be a
selfies
little
and
arrogant.
yeah, his bathroom selfies and all this other type of stuff, and these muscle shirts doing the quarterback and how big he is. Because quarterback being big and strong. I'm a 49er fan. We had a guy named Jim Druckenmiller who bench pressed more than anybody at Virginia Tech when he was in college. That didn't work out so well, and it doesn't work out in the quarterback position in the NFL. But they were mainly talking about his attitude. And if you talk about attitude, we know guys who had attitudes in the NFL. It was Johnny Manziel. It was Jay Cutler. It was Josh Rosen. It's Baker Mayfield. Now Kyler Murray a little bit. And those guys really are not too successful in NFL, these guys with these attitudes. And that's why they said he slipped. I didn't know that about him, so I guess it was interesting for me to read, but we'll see how he performs in Tennessee, which is not really that good of a
I
team.
think it's
And that pretty
great.
much ends the career, I think, of what's called Malik Willis, who they drafted, I think, last year before that thing even started. But we'll
Yeah, we all
see.
figured that. Derrick Henry, it's gotta be curious to see what happens to him, especially if they do go with the rookie, because I think you got to figure out how to keep Derrick Henry if you're gonna have a rookie in there. But to me, falling there is actually, in past history, it's been one of the best situations you could go to because you go to a team that's possibly a playoff team already, which the Titans were. I don't think they were that great, but they still were a playoff team. You're going to a often more stable situation. Bryce Young going first pick to Carolina. That's great, but there's gonna be a lot of expectations, a whole lot of moving parts to figure that out. CJ Stroud going to Houston, whole lot of moving parts to figure that out. So if they do get a second deal, it's going to be big because they played well enough to get a second deal. But I think to Brian's point, Will Levis has a very good chance. All he has to do is be solid, whereas those dudes have to be great. So we'll see what happens there.
I'll tell you who fell into a really good situation. That's Jalen Carter with playing with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Absolutely,
Because no matter
absolutely.
what his off the field stuff is, when you got veterans like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham on that team, you're not gonna fall the line. They're not gonna
Bunch
let
of
you.
bunch of
They ain't gonna
great
let you.
And
players
it's
too.
Georgia North.
Yeah, it's
I
Yeah,
Georgia
mean,
North.
they
yeah,
Exactly.
damn sure
right, yeah,
they sent a charter to the Georgia campus to get all them
right,
players on it
right,
to bring them up after the draft, right?
Yeah.
right.
I thought
So yeah,
Philly did a great job to be a top team and to stay in contention. You have to draft well because you're going to lose players and coaches when you're at the top. Niners, have you guys have seen it every year for years. You're going to lose players, you're going to lose coaches. So I thought Philly did a really good job with the trades and the draft to keep themselves competitive. And I
yeah.
don't feel like on paper they lost a step. I mean, they lost Hargrave to you guys, but they get Carter. If he's solid and can grow into that, they're going to have a very good rusher at rookie prices. That's
Yeah.
huge for some
Well,
years.
yeah,
So
that's all that Philly. That's Philly culture right there, man. You put DeAndre Carter on another team, it might not work out so well. But when you got those veterans on there, man,
I thought
and
so
people
too.
wonder why. Well, man, he's 33 years old. Why you resign him? This is why you sign him to get a guy, this rookie, come in and make sure that he falls in line and does what he's supposed to do. That's why you have veterans. That's
We'll
why
get that out.
people ask, why is backup still in the league?
Yeah.
That's why. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? Stuff like this. This is why.
Kyle Orton.
Ah, damn it.
Okay, he sucks, but we're not talking about him though. So, and Chase Daniel, he's another one that sucks. But yeah, I get
Yeah.
you. I get what you're
That guy
going.
had
I
a
get what you're
really
going.
long career
Yeah,
for. He clearly was a good locker room guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, where are we going now? We gonna talk about our teams and their
Yeah.
picks.
What you guys think about your squads?
I'll go
But
first
you
on
go
this
first.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was really kind of a question. If you remember, I said that they were looking at Jordan Addison, and I wasn't sure I understood it because they have Osborne, but it would be fun to watch. And that's who the Vikings ended up taking in the first round was Jordan Addison. Their three wide receivers now are really, really good. Osborne showed a lot of promise in that third wide receiver role. Jordan Addison is going to be a very good number two to start, I think. They've got a great team and an organization that knows how to develop wide receivers, and Justin Jefferson um, could ultimately blow up because of this, which is hard to think of. But if Addison is 75% of what he can be, there's no way you're going to be able to throw doubles on Jefferson and not have Addison kill you or Osborne kill you. And then they got a tight end who is one of the best in the league at receiving the ball. So you've got to like what they did on the offense. But man, was that wait to get to the next pick because they didn't have a second round pick long to see if they were going to take a DB that's going to make a difference. and apparently they, the Vikings decided that they only wanted to send a couple charters, so they sent one to the USC campus because they went and took Mekhi Blackman, who's the corner out of USC, and Jordan Addison, and then they did almost the exact same thing for LSU, where they took the defensive tackle and the cornerback from LSU with the next two picks, Jay Ward and Jacqueline Roy. Now, I don't know enough about those players to know whether or not they're going to be game changers or difference makers, but
Oh,
I've noticed that teams are starting to realize that there's some type of a symbiotic relationship by taking two players from the same defense that have a defense that's like theirs. So sometimes
hmm
drafting players that fit in the defense is more important than drafting the most talented player at those
Yeah.
positions. And I
Right.
feel like for whatever reason, they felt like USC's offense and LSU's defense were close enough to theirs that drafting their players was a big deal. I knew nothing about the BYU quarterback. So, Jason, if you know something about Jaron Hall, I'd love to learn it. I've read about him. What I hear is that he's extremely accurate. He's undersized and he's a pocket passer who likes to go deep, which is a lot of what the kind of offense that this coach wants to do. And I think that if he is able to play in this type of offense like that, with those types of skills, he could be very good. I'm wondering if they really believe that they're going to, at 164, they just picked the guy that's going to follow Cousins. That seems interesting to me, but the price is right.
hmm
So it's worth giving him a shot. I mean, but it'll be interesting to see if he becomes the guy, if it becomes obvious that he's going to be the guy that's going to follow Kirk Cousins, or did the Vikings just make a decision that they're going to go find a Trey Lance or someone else on the trade market to be the guy who follows Kirk Cousins, and Jaron is going to be their backup? But it was just an interesting pick for them to take, for them to take a quarterback. I wasn't expecting that. And all I could do is read about him, and I did a little bit of watch like one video, and it's fun to think of somebody who can throw an accurate deep ball, getting toys like
That's right.
Addison and Jefferson.
Yeah, so I said before the draft, I thought the Vikings were going to draft a quarterback. I don't think they're in the Kirk Cousins business for too long, and it wouldn't surprise me if this guy took over. And you're absolutely right. What you said his traits are, that's exactly who he is. That doesn't mean he's going to be a bad or a great NFL quarterback, but I think he might be able to run that offense, especially with those wide receivers there. Seriously, and if you have a good running back. So I didn't know that draft.
Yeah,
That's not a bad draft pick, especially you said in the fifth round. So
and
it looks
we
like to
we
me Vikings are going all offense this year.
well, when the new coach came over, they said we're going to pass the ball more.
Yeah.
That's the kind of offense that he likes to run, and we saw plenty of that last year. The last pick, their last pick, they took the running back, and I think we're all still trying to figure out what happens to Dalvin Cook,
Mm.
and so I'm wondering if them taking a running back is kind of a sign that they're thinking that Dalvin's time is going to be coming up short real
Yeah.
soon, and Madison is going to be the starting running back with this guy with Dwayne McBride being a backup type of guy
Mm.
in that situation. So at least they drafted a running back where the right value is, which is deep. As opposed to these folks who spent a whole lot of money on them in the first round. And
Oh,
Dalvin Cook is amazing, and I love Dalvin Cook as a fantasy player who I've had in the last couple of years, and as a guy on my team. But it's just difficult. I mean, there are some really good running backs that don't have jobs right
yeah.
now, and so it's
Yeah, I think ours is gone too.
I
it's a
want to give you
buyer's market.
I gotta give you a shout out, Brian. Welcome to the Peerless One Sports Team. Yeah, I gotta
Yeah,
give you
man.
a shout out. Gotta give you a shirt. It's all good. GB, what you think about the Raiders draft?
I felt like there was a strategy at least. I said go defense. They drafted defense first. We'll see if Tyree Wilson's good. A lot of people say we should have got Carter. I don't think Vegas is the right situation for having
Mm,
a charge like that on you. I hope that the young man's good. Not don't want to see another black man caught up in the prison system by any means. So I hope he's all good. It sounds like he is, but I don't think you want to drop him into Vegas with a team that's in a rebuild, in a building situation. I think Philly was the right move. Tyree Wilson seems like a good guy. good head on his shoulders. If he ends up being solid, 75% of what he could be, put him with Max. We also drafted another interior lineman. If they become solid, put some pressure on these quarterbacks, that works. We got a tight end, one of the top tight ends from what I understand out of Notre Dame. Sounds like he fits the system. And then some of the rest of the picks, I mean, they picked, tackles and linebackers, et cetera. So, picks to your point, Coop, is it's only as good as what the person turns out to be, right? So,
Crapshoot. Yeah.
yep. So we see what
Uh,
happens, but at least I felt like we had some strategy going in. It wasn't just like, they a lot of times it'll, I was expecting to draft a damn lineman, an O lineman, and we need O line, but that's not a great,
it's not.
it's never a sexy pick. And at the same time, we drafted O lineman like 3 of the last 4 or 5 years. You know
And
what I
plus, it
mean?
wasn't a good. It's not a good old line draft either.
Yeah,
So
and it
you
looks
know,
like they knew what was going on. They got Wilson. I thought dude looks like he might be like he could be nice. He has a lot of potential. So we're gonna see. So I wasn't upset at all.
yeah. 49ers draft. I was looking. They picked a kicker in the third damn round. I don't get that one. I think they
Hey,
could have got him later, but I
hey, it
guess they
worked. It
see.
worked out for the Raiders when we did it.
When I looked, it ain't worked out for us and other teams, Tampa Bay. But when I looked at all of our draft picks, it just said to me, this is 2024. None of these guys are making any impact this year. I think that's why I didn't see keeping 11 draft picks because the 11 guys can't make. It's probably two good. Two of these guys can't make the team. The
Yeah.
ones that stood out though was two that stood out. It was the Penn State DB. He's okay in pass
That's your
coverage,
first
but
pick.
yeah, he's really good in run support and he's not scared, to hit people. So he kind of fits the 49ers culture. He's a physical player, and the 49ers like to get physical guys. But also, they got the tight end Cameron Latow from Alabama. I don't think he's going to make that much of an impact in the passing game, but he'll help with the blocking, and that's what we need because George Kittle is starting to digress, is starting to regress a little bit as a blocker.
Mm,
You might want to use him more as a receiver like Kittle. Now, I don't think he'll be as good as, I mean, not Kittle, as Kelsey. He
mm,
won't be as good as Kelsey as a receiver. Kelsey is all worldly, but it can take some pressure off George Kittle doing the blocking. So I'm happy that we got another tight end. And the other guys I saw are more speed guys. So it looks like the 49ers are trying to draft some speed on their team. I know they got the TCU linebacker who is fast, and I expect him to probably start next year opposite of Fred Warner. So to me, the 49ers draft was more about getting guys who can play special teams, adding some speed and some speed guys who can probably contribute next year on the 2024 team. I don't think they'll be making much of a contribution this year. So that's what I saw, and we'll see. And the 49ers are kind of getting old, sneaky old, to be perfectly honest with you. That Super Bowl
mm.
window could be closing. So you might want to try to take advantage this upcoming year.
Offense is fairly young.
Yeah,
Defense
but we got but Trent Williams
defense
is getting
rotates
old.
every year. Yeah, defense
Yeah, but
defense.
Trent Williams is our best offensive lineman. He's like 35 now.
Y'all
So
have an offensive line?
one player, just
Oh
one.
damn. Okay, I
Yeah,
was about
just
to say
one.
yeah,
Yeah, just
because
one.
everybody else giving up sacks. Nah,
Yes,
it's,
thank
it's
you.
gonna be
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be interesting to see, man. So we gonna see what happens. It's Laker games actually kind of going
89,
right now
83.
too. Yeah,
Yep.
Lakers are playing some solid defense in this third quarter. So yeah,
So
so that's our show so far. You guys got tell me what's a bunch of hogwash, man. What's hella hogwash?
go ahead, B.
All right, here's what's a bunch of hogwash. And I'm going way off script here. PSG suspending a legend, Lionel Messi, for
Shout
two
out to Austin.
weeks. Yeah, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to him because I'm
Yeah.
out of town right now. But for 2 weeks, for what seems more like a misunderstanding than anything else, they said that they gave him permission to travel to Saudi Arabia if they won their match. They lost their match, and he didn't ask for permission before going there, and they suspended him for 2 weeks. Now, we all know that the relationship between Lionel Messi and PSG has gone sideways over the last couple months, or if you don't know, the relationship between Lionel Messi
There
and
you go.
PSG has gone sideways over the last couple months. But this is such a sham, a way not to pay him
Mm,
for a couple of weeks and make it obvious that this is almost over. But I don't, you don't do legends like that. I mean, Lionel
Oh,
Messi has been a great ambassador to the sport and the
oh man.
team for so long. He's never been the arrogant guy like a Ronaldo and some of these other players. And so to see the team kind of play these types of games with him is a bunch of hogwash. It's a bunch of crap.
Solid. Okay.
yeah, what's a bunch of hogwash to me is seeing all these guys that got drafted, I guess the top, I don't know, first two rounds in NFL and seeing how many guys the University of Miami Hurricanes weren't in the market to get when they was coming out of high school. That's hella hogwash. And All right, Trip. The Miami Hurricanes, everybody knows them in football, college football, the U. If we're trying to compete for national championships, we got to get some of these guys that's getting drafted in the first or second round, and we're not even getting an official visit. So that's a bad thing. That's a bunch of hogwash. I know Mario Cristobal is helping with recruiting, but we got to do better. We got to start getting guys that, other people want, like NFL teams. So, yeah, that's a bunch of hogwash. Yeah. Miami's recruiting the last few years, all bad.
Wow.
And judging by Glenn's face, looks like the Lakers. Oh, Lakers are up
No, we have that
93-86.
just a close shot by pool. It's a
Yeah,
good game. I can't even lie.
93-86.
Um,
Third quarter,
Stay
141
in
to go.
LA. It's a good
Okay.
game. So yeah, I don't think I have one. Um, oh, you know what? Actually, shout out to Candace Parker. I was watching her do an interview. She was saying how she played in the league 16 years and never had a locker with her name on it. Never had a real designated locker room because they always
Mm,
share a facility. They never had a practice facility until now. Shout out to Mark Davis, who built the Las Vegas Aces facility. Is the first facility built for a WNBA team. How long has the WNBA been around? And they're just now building facilities. It's always just been shared. I know it's in loss leader type situation, revenue, absolutely. I get that. But if you're gonna have it, have it. The NBA makes enough money, so if you're gonna do it, do it. Don't it's gonna make more sense if you're not gonna put the investment in it,
mm.
don't do it. If you're gonna do it.
NBA is actually subsidizing that league, but that's another
I know.
conversation. I get it
Oh, I
though.
know.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
get what you're
Well,
saying though. I
hey,
get your
it's
point.
it's called the WNBA. So if it's
Yeah,
gonna have bear your name, put the money in or don't, bro. Like
yeah.
don't, you know what I mean? Come on now. I'm gonna be like, hey, cool. We're gonna start our own basketball league for the youth. I got one ball, and we're gonna play on the. Come on, man. If you're gonna do it, do it. You ain't got no
Yeah.
jerseys for the kids. You're not gonna have no nothing. Just hey, yeah, we're gonna meet at the park and we're gonna play this one half court if they let us get on. Like, come on, man.
I hear you.
So
Okay. All right.
that's all I got for that. And I just thought about this because I saw her talking to Draymond on his podcast. So
Mm.
yeah, came up to me. Last 1 minute to win it. Mine is just thanking you guys, thanking my family, my friends, everybody. I just really appreciate y'all. I've been surrounded by some really good people in this life, and I'm thankful to God and thankful to all of you for making it great. So love you all.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go the same route because this is the segment that Brian always has to go last. But yeah, I'm gonna go the same way.
We put
Thanks
pressure on
everybody
them.
for listening. And all new subscribers, thank you for listening. Hope you
Definitely.
subscribe and listen every week because and this is the ride we've been on. We make jokes, we talk about each other, but it's all love, it's all sports, and that's what we do.
5 years of doing it. We always put the
No doubt.
pressure on you, B. So you don't ever feel like you
Yeah,
have to
yeah. Well,
Yep,
you know what?
yep.
I'm
have to
kind of
cover.
going. I'm going out of the realm a little bit on this one too. What I was going to tell people is if you haven't watched Roy Woods Jr.'s White House correspondence speech, look it up and take a look
Oh,
at it. It was
nice.
really,
Hmm.
really well done. It's very funny. It takes jabs at everybody who needed to be, roasted a little bit, and that's what kind of the speech was for. But he also did something that a lot of the other people, and he actually it was commended for this. It's supposed to be a correspondence speech. It's supposed to talk about the professionals who every day go and follow the news where it goes. And he really paid a lot of respect to that. It was done very, very well. He had some great jokes. He had some jokes that didn't land so well in the room. He talked about the current events of Tucker Carlson, and what's his name from CNN. Um,
Don
Help me
Lemon.
out. Yeah. Don Lemon. He got him good. He got Biden right there. He looked right at him when he did it. Gave him a little roast, and then shook the man's hand right after. And I really thought that he struck a nice balance. He probably isn't the funniest of all of them historically. Wanda Sykes, man, was great. But he did a really great job, and I think that this is hopefully the lead in for him being the full time head of the Daily Show,
Nice.
because I think that his style is what would be really nice right now. I mean, the Daily Show has gone from when Jon Stewart did it to having some more substantive bite, and then Trevor Noah kind of had a little bit of bite, but more on the comedic side, and Roy Woods Jr. is more certainly more comedic, who can make points here and there, but he's trying to make people laugh more than make people think, which was what Jon Stewart was doing in his own way. I think he'd be a great next head of the Daily Show, and I hope he gets the opportunity. But he check out his White House correspondence speech. It was on C-SPAN. It's pretty easy to find anywhere on YouTube or whatever, and it's worth the 15, 16 minutes to listen to it, especially if you like political comedy, or just want whoever it is that you don't like to get roasted because they all get some.
Yeah. Roy Wood Jr., man, I know him from years ago doing prank calls. So he was very funny on his
He's
prank calls. He's
hilarious.
actually a comedian too. He's actually really hilarious. I did not know he did the correspondence dinner. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
They always
definitely
pick
check it
they
out.
always pick a rising comedian.
Yeah.
Um, I
He's
want to
been
say
around
I
for a
think
minute,
yeah, he's been
but people don't
tearing it
know
up on
about
the
him.
Daily Show.
Yeah. Okay.
Leidick, Klepper, and Roy Woods, who have been longtime correspondents on the Daily Show, are three of the best in the business. I hope that whoever comes up next is from those three. If I had a vote, I'd pick Roy Woods, but not because Klepper already got his own show, and Leidick is amazing, but I think she's better for spots than would you know than than Roy Woods would be.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
And as we're ending this show, it's the end of the third quarter. Lakers up 96-88. So we'll see if they can close it out on the
Oh
road,
man,
game
such a
one.
huge win if they could get this.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
let's get it.
We'll
Cool.
see.
Thank you guys for listening. This is Sports Counterpoints podcast. It's May the 2nd, 2023. We'll catch you next time. Peace.